let's talk about Reef McKinnis. So, horrible situation for him personally, business wise, in the world of AFL and his contract. He's in his last year. At the back end of last season and the off season, we weren't really sure until we made some moves in. It was really late, perhaps just before delisted free agency or just after. Reef was granted another year extension on his existing contract. Now, we weren't sure what we were going to get from Reef. He was nearly a 2-goal a game forward last year. And then, yeah, I suppose they were probably trying to figure out what the list would look like with acquisitions through other means, draft, free agency, and whatnot. They end up deciding to keep him, and they throw him down back right from the get-go. Once the preseason started, it was Reef McInnes to the back line. Let's see if we can pull some strings and make it work. Many times you'll see in AFL, you'll see many players switch from forward to back to forward. Leon Davis, Jeremy Howe, Chris Tarrant's done it. Darcy Moore's done it. So you try and exhaust all options, all avenues with players who are talented. And Reef McKinnis was our prized first-round draft pick way back when in, I believe it would have been either 2020 or 2021, late first-rounder. So you just, because we've struggled with our first-round picks, I think there would have definitely been an extra emphasis on trying to get right a first-round pick and delisting another first-round pick. I say another first-round pick. We haven't had a bunch of them in the last decade or so, but to delist him, it wouldn't have looked good. That would have they've done it if they had to, if they needed to, sure. But I feel like there was still some areas that they wanted to test with Reef, and the backline was one. There was some it was skeptical. People questioned it, including myself. And by no means do I think he was going to be a mainstay in the backline. I think he was still finding his feet at training. He was doing well in the game. I mean, can you say he had much of a chance to impact it in the way we were playing? Port Adelaide was pretty much a defender's paradise. If you're Darcy Moore, Reef McInnes, and Jeremy Howe, and then the game against Footscray, he's out in the first 5 minutes with the ACL. So we didn't get to see a lot of Reef McKinnis in the back line. It was a really small sample size. What we do know is, judging by what Craig McRae said in that presser after the game, he said Reef is a part of our future, to paraphrase him. And for me, I think that's almost enough for me to hope that Reef McKinnis gets another year extension. I think they did that with Harvey throughout his ACL recovery, but to be fair, Harvey was showing a lot more than what like Reef was. Reef's the potential to become a lock in the back line he's a little bit further away than what Harvey Harrison was, and becoming a full-time winger for the long term for the Pies. What's going for Reef and what's working for him and what will help him get that contract extension to help him get through his rehab is his age, is the potential, and what we saw and what we liked in the preseason with Reef McInnes as a defender. So I think that's what's going to happen. Unfortunately, we're going to have to wait another 12 months to see Reef flex his stuff in the back line and prove to us prove to himself whether he is a defender, a high quality defender in the AFL that can do a job. And it brings many issues to the to the forefront. Unfortunately, the immediate issue that we are dealt with right now is we don't really have anyone outside of Charlie Dean and Billy Frampton. So we are already without forwards moving back. I don't think that's going to happen. I could be wrong, but I don't think that's going to happen right now. And until I hear otherwise and see otherwise, and the club hints at that, I'm not going to go down that path of the Mychecks or McStays and Membry's going back. I just don't know if they would want to pull the trigger on that with Charlie Dean and Billy Frampton waiting in line for an opportunity this year. So what do you guys think? Do you prefer a Charlie Dean, a Billy Frampton? What I might do is I might actually get the first poll up tonight. As I go into this conversation, I want you guys to tell me, would you prefer Billy Frampton or Charlie Dean? Bear with me. Looking at, well, the first thing you probably want to look at is form in the VFL, which we'll get to. But I just want to talk to our fixture, our next 4 games. After the bye, we have Carlton, we have Sydney, we have Brisbane and Essendon. All 4 of those, or all 3 of those 4 sides don't really have premier key forwards. I'm talking about Sydney, I'm talking about Brisbane and Essendon. So the blessing there is whether it's Charlie Dean or whether it's Billy Frampton, they both have an opportunity to work their way into against sides that if we are defending well as a team, we won't be put under immense pressure in the back line. Carlton is another conversation. Now, we know they're not playing well when it comes to their delivery inside 50, which plays to the strengths of our defenders. So you could make the case that Frampton seems like the obvious option, especially because the most upcoming game is Carlton, and he matches up very well against Harry Mackay and had some really good moments against him early last year in that first game. I can't remember if he featured in the second game, though, so I'll have to follow that up. But we know what Billy Frampton brings. He brings effort, and that's a non-negotiable. He battles hard, and he prides himself on trying to win as many contests as possible. The other side of the coin is Charlie Dean, who could also try and find some rhythm against the other fewer sides in Brisbane, Sydney, Essendon. So it depends what Fly wants to go with here. Does he want to go with horses for courses and go Billy Frampton? Or does he want to go absolute talent and go for a Charlie Dean? So we'll look into the VFL performance yesterday. I watched the full game on the watch along. So I kept a close eye on the likes of Charlie Dean and Billy Frampton. Charlie Dean was pretty sound defensively. He had 18 touches, 7 intercept possessions, and 7 marks. A few of those were intercept marks. He's actually quite comfortable with the ball in hand. He was quick with his hands in the back line. He stood up strong in the air, intercepting the ball. And I feel like we haven't seen it much, but we know it's there. And that is Charlie's point of difference in this conversation is his kicking ability, his ability to rebound the ball. His comfort, his laconic nature with the ball gives us solace going forward outside or from our back line. Billy Frampton was up and down last night. His stats would definitely tell you that he had a really good game stats-wise. He had 18 touches. He had 9 intercept possessions. But playing at VFL level, it was interesting to see these players actually get a lot of ball in hand. At AFL level, Charlie Dean and Billy Frampton are getting 10 touches max. Maybe Charlie Dean can get more, but Billy Frampton doesn't get a bunch of possessions when he's playing in the AFL side. So it's good to see and find out a little bit more what they're like when they are given the keys to disposing the ball in their back line. Like I said, Charlie was quite sound, but Billy Frampton, there was a number of unforced turnovers by foot, and the argument there right away is Billy Frampton's not going to have that pressure put upon him when he's in the AFL side because you got the likes of Dan Houston, because you got the likes of Josh Dacos and everyone else in between. Throw in Braden Maynard and Jeremy Howe. So it's a bit of a non-issue, but more, at the very least, it was an observation to see these guys with more footy in their hands. Yeah, shaky at times in the air was Billy Frampton. He had a few soft drops inside our D50, which fed the small forwards in the Sydney Swans and turned the ball over in our back half, which I've already mentioned. And he just gives me a level of anxiety with and without the ball. The only thing I will say about Frampton's performance yesterday was he was really strong. He was really impressive in certain contests, but it's just not consistent enough. And if we're seeing these issues at VFL level and we've seen it at AFL level, I just don't know how we work our way around that. He's just a bit of a clumsy guy. I don't know what to say any more than that. It's not a good hand to pick out of when you've only got 2 players truly to select from. unless we go shorter. I just don't think that's going to be viable. We did, to be fair, thinking about it, we did okay without Reef McKinnis on the field. The only person who really killed us was Sam Darcy. So we know with Fly, he's quite unpredictable with the way he selects sides. So it's just sprung to me that maybe we don't even play either of them. Like we were playing against Aaron Norton and Sam Darcy. Darcy Moore took Sam Darcy. Why can't Jeremy Howe? I know Jeremy Howe's not a one-on-one player. We're giving up a bit of size if it was just Jeremy Howe and Darcy as the mains, and then Brazzy helping out as well. But I just feel like Fly could go that way. I really do. When there's three key tall forwards that can really stretch us, that's when we probably do have to play a Charlie Dean and Billy Frampton. So, yeah, it's not ideal. We're going to have to work with it for the remainder, or at least for the first half of the year. We have mid-season spots available, or at least one mid-season spot, with Reef being placed on a long-term injury list. With Ash Johnson, I'm not too sure where we're at with him at the moment as far as what his estimated return to play is. Once we know more about that, we could potentially have two spots on the mid-season draft to pick up a key defender. The other issue with hoping to get lucky in the mid-season draft and get someone from the Samful or the Waffle or the VFL is if we are placed quite high on a ladder, because that's how you get your draft snake, your mid-season draft snake. You base it on the live ladder. So if we are top 8, top 4, we're not going to get first dibs on the best defender in the mid-season draft. So even then, we're probably going to walk out of there with an unders player that isn't the one we were initially hoping for, unless we go real left field and maybe look at, I was going to say Coates Talent League and look for a top ager or an overager or something like that. But are you really bringing in even an overager in the Coates Talent League to come in and ask them to do a job from the get-go? It's just not realistic. It really isn't. So it is a tricky predicament that we're in. The conversation further down the line is, what are we going to do in the postseason? How are we going to work with picking up players there? Let the recruitment team do their job. I guess they've got the delisted free agency, unrestricted free agency, the draft, but once again, that's not going to be an immediate fix. We'll see. That's quite further down the line, but let's catch up on some comments here. Steve-O says, Billy Butterfingers Frampton, time to step up. Last chance to prove yourself within this worth in this side. I 100% agree that it's certainly his last chance. It's unfortunate because last season, Steve-O, he actually played quite well when he first came back into the side early in the year. Had a really good game against St Kilda, had a great game against Carlton, and then there was a point in the year where he got dropped, and then he came in and played forward and then had nil impact, and then he was thrown back. So I will defend Billy Frampton to the hills when it comes to that. Had Billy Frampton not been moved and we persisted with him in the back line, consistency and continuity at the top level of the game is severely underestimated. And if he was afforded the opportunity to remain in the team over the long course of a period of time, we could be having a different conversation. In 2023, he played a fair bunch of footy. Got dropped later in the year, but he played roles in the ruck. He played well as a defender. Played really well from what I could recall. Maybe he can recapture that. Maybe he can't. George, I feel like Reef was recruited for midfield, but doesn't have a big tank. I don't think he's a backman. He has no run and carry, cannot mark. So initially, he was definitely drafted as a midfielder. The tank query, I'm not too sure. I didn't watch him. I'm not sure how much midfield he played in the VFL in his formative years at the Pies. And you don't think he's a backman. He has no run and carry, cannot mark. Well, the thing is, I think the type of player we're hoping for with Reef is we weren't hoping for a run and carry defender. We're hoping for a defender that can do a job and release the shackles on Darcy Moore. However, he was someone surprisingly, not surprisingly, but he actually does have a bit of run and carry. I saw that a lot in the preseason. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see that in game because he just didn't have the opportunity to do so. Stefanos says we still didn't conclusively see enough of Reef before making a call. Yeah, that's where we're at. We're at an impetus now with the decision behind whether Reef is going to be a part of the long-term future of the Pies. But at the very least, I could probably see Reef McKinnis getting rookie listed and getting a rookie contract. I think that's probably the most realistic option right now. Right now, our rookie A's are Oleg Markov and Ash Johnson. So I imagine, I hate to say it, I think Ash Johnson could very well get delisted. There's every chance that Oleg Markov gets delisted at the end of the year. I think there will be space for a Reef McInnes to at least be on the rookie list. George says he's also not an elite kick out of the back line, but he can be a lockdown only. Yeah, that's the conversation we're having. The priority for the club is for him to be a lockdown player, not necessarily a player to rely on kicking outside of from our D50. Steve-O says, hopefully Reef hits the gym, goes hard. So when he comes back, hey, good point. Steve, that's a good point. A lot of players, when you are going from season to season, you only have X amount of time to try and build muscle in the off season. During the season, you're not putting on muscle with the amount of running you're doing. You're just trying to maintain. And it's sometimes a bit of an extended period on the sidelines can help you find some extra time in a gym and put in a concerted effort to build some muscle. And Reef is quite slim for his size. So this actually we might look back at this and say this was a blessing in disguise for Reef. He gets a little bit mature head-wise. He goes through adversities off field with the rehab, and then he gets jacked in the gym. Comes back, puts on, 5 kilos. He can still run well. I think that would be a big win in the long term if that happens. Good point, Steve-O. Frampton's not perfect, but he's got height. If Billy's in the side, it can free up Darcy, but if it's Charlie Dean Moore, will be babysitting. I hope we see more of Darcy Moore taking the best forward. He did that pretty much all game against Sam Darcy. Had some good moments, had some bad moments. I thought overall he had a net positive game. I think as our skipper, as a 6'6" key defender, if you're asked to play one-on-one footy when we need it the most, I think you just got to do it. And I think to build on that game against Sam Darcy, I don't think he's going to play on a better forward than him this year. I think we need Darcy Moore to play one-on-one more than ever. Stefanos says, can we say neither and try Checkers? I'm not there yet. I mentioned in the preseason, but it's just unrealistic because Checkers hasn't trained there all preseason. It can happen. It's not out of the possibility. He has experience there, so it's not like it's completely foreign to him like it was Reef McInnes. So we'll see. We'll see. I don't mind it. You can still have McStay and Membry up forward, and then you got your small forwards feeding. Lockie Schultz is taking marks overhead. Bloody Elliott is taking marks overhead. Bobby Hill is an overhead small forward. Bo McCreary brings you pressure at ground level. If Mason Cox stays in the side, you also have another kick there going forward. You also have Darcy Cameron who can do that.